Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Imagine holding a tiny piece of history in your hand, a coin that not only whispers stories from over 80 years ago but could also change your life forever. Today, we're talking about the rarest of the rare, the 1940 mint mark 1-cent wheat penny. A coin so extraordinary that collectors and investors are willing to pay nearly $1 million for it today. Yes, you heard that right. One coin, one small, unassuming penny, valued at $906,000 in the current market. If you've ever found yourself staring at old coins in your drawer, thinking they might be worth something, this is the moment you've been waiting for. But here's the catch. Not every 1940 penny is the golden ticket. Only the no-mint mark error coins, those rare misprints that slipped through the U.S. Mint's watchful eyes, carry this kind of value. And let me tell you, spotting one of these is like finding a diamond in a haystack. Imagine telling your friends that a coin you almost threw away could fund your dream vacation, your retirement, or even a lifetime of financial freedom. The excitement is real and the opportunity is now. Now, let's get into why this coin is so valuable, because understanding the story behind it only adds to its allure. In 1940, the United States was on the brink of monumental change. The country was emerging from the Great Depression, and coins were mass-produced to keep the economy moving. But sometimes, even in precision-driven systems, mistakes happen. Enter the no-mint mark wheat penny. These pennies were supposed to bear the mark of the Denver Mint, a tiny D stamped under Lincoln's bust. But for a rare few, the mint mark never appeared, creating what collectors call a mint error. Here's where things get exciting. Errors like these are rare, unpredictable, and fiercely sought after by investors who know that scarcity equals value. Think about it. There are millions of regular 1940 pennies out there, but only a handful of no-mint mark error coins exist. And every day, collectors and wealthy investors are scouring auctions and private collections, willing to pay hundreds of thousands, sometimes close to $1 million, for a single coin. It's like owning a secret treasure that only a lucky few get to hold. Now, I can almost hear you asking, could this be in my collection? Absolutely. But here's the catch: time is not on your side. Every day that passes, more of these rare coins vanish into private collections, vaults, or museums. And if you've ever hesitated to have your old coins appraised, that hesitation could cost you a fortune. Think of it like letting a rare gem sit in a drawer while someone else cashes in on its life-changing value. Ouch, right? Pause for effect, but don't worry. That's why you're here. So, what does this mean for you today? If you've got old coins lying around, even pennies that seem ordinary, they could be worth a small fortune. The 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of possibility, a bridge between history and wealth. Investors, collectors, and wealthy enthusiasts are all competing for these gems, driving prices higher every year. And with the current market value sitting at $906,000, the potential for financial transformation is undeniable. Here's the takeaway. Don't let fear or hesitation hold you back. Take a moment to inspect your old pennies, consult a trusted coin expert, and discover if your collection hides a life-changing treasure. This isn't just about money. It's about seizing opportunities before they slip away, about turning something ordinary into something extraordinary. Picture the freedom, the security, and the lifestyle this kind of discovery could bring. And imagine telling your story, years from now, of the day you uncovered a nearly $1 million penny that no one else saw coming. The rare 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny is more than just a coin. It's a key to wealth, a piece of history, and a testament to the incredible surprises hidden in the simplest of objects. Your moment is now. Don't let it pass. Picture this. Somewhere in America, right now, a single copper penny is sitting in a jar, a drawer, maybe even between your couch cushions, and it carries a price tag that has brushed headlines at nearly $1 million. No lottery ticket, no crypto wallet, just a humble 1945 wheat penny with no mint mark. If that sentence made your heart beat a little faster, stay with me, because the next 10 minutes could permanently change how you look at the coins already in your home. This is not a fairy tale, and it's definitely not a get-rich-quick fantasy. This is a documented chapter of American history, born in the shadow of World War II, when metal shortages, rushed production, and human error collided to create one of the most demanded penny varieties the United States has ever known. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. Millions of Americans have already handled valuable coins like this and spent them for 1 cent. Don't let that be your story. America is exhaling after the war. Factories are still roaring, the US Mint is under pressure, and perfection is not the priority. Speed is. Pennies are struck in massive numbers, and most people assume they're all the same. They are not. The 1945 1-cent wheat penny without a mint mark, struck in Philadelphia, became a quiet breeding ground for rare errors, transitional metal quirks, and microscopic differences that today separate pocket change from life-altering wealth. And yes, before you ask, a mint mark or the absence of one can mean everything. Funny how something missing can be worth so much, right? Now here's where excitement meets fear, because the most valuable coins aren't loud. They don't glow. They don't announce themselves. They look ordinary. That's what makes them dangerous. The wrong glance, the wrong assumption, and a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars can be casually tossed into a Coinstar machine. Painful thought? Good. That little jolt of fear is your wake-up call. Over the years, collectors and auction houses have identified extraordinary 1945 no-mint mark wheat pennies with rare striking errors, off-metal compositions, and pristine conditions that push them into a completely different universe of value. We're not talking about $50 or $500. We're talking about coins that have been associated with market valuations reaching as high as $981,000 for exceptional specimens. That's not collector hobby money. That's legacy money. That's pay off the house, fund your retirement, live your dreams money. And demand? It's fierce. Elite collectors don't sleep on opportunities like this. As more Americans wake up to the hidden wealth sitting in old jars and inherited collections, the supply tightens. High net worth buyers compete quietly, aggressively, and decisively. When a verified, high-grade 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny surfaces, it doesn't linger. It disappears into private vaults. Blink, and it's gone. Let me interrupt this intensity with a quick question. Be honest. If I asked you right now where your old pennies are, would you know? Or are they scattered across shoeboxes, drawers, and dusty containers labeled junk coins? Exactly. And that's why this matters. Because wealthy collectors are organized, informed, and ready to move. The advantage right now belongs to the person who slows down, looks closer, and refuses to underestimate what they already own. There's something deeply American about this coin. It represents resilience, transition, and quiet power. In 1945, nobody imagined these pennies would one day command attention like fine art. But markets evolve, knowledge grows, and suddenly history pays dividends. The people who benefit most are not gamblers, they are observers. They are the ones who recognize that rarity plus demand plus condition equals opportunity. This is the moment of decision, because every year, fewer untouched 1945 no-mint mark wheat pennies remain. Coins are damaged, cleaned improperly, or lost forever. Meanwhile, demand continues to rise, fueled by collectors who understand one brutal truth. You can always make more money, but you can never make more rare coins from 1945. Here's the positive reality. If you own old pennies, you are already ahead of most people. You don't need to buy anything new. You don't need to speculate wildly. You simply need to become intentional. Examine dates, respect condition, understand errors. And when something looks ordinary but feels different, trust that instinct. History rewards the curious. Let's add one more pattern interrupt before we land this plane. Imagine explaining to a friend that your wealth didn't come from stocks, real estate, or inheritance, but from a penny. Watch their face. That moment alone is priceless. And yet, it happens more often than people think, quietly, privately, and usually to someone who decided to take old coins seriously when others laughed them off. The market doesn't wait. Collectors don't hesitate. And the window of opportunity narrows every year. If a 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny with the right characteristics crosses your path, it deserves respect, professional evaluation, and decisive action. This is not about hype. It's about positioning yourself where history, demand, and value intersect, so the next time you hear that familiar clink of pennies, don't hear noise. Hear possibility. Hear urgency. Hear a whisper from 1945 reminding you that wealth doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes, it arrives quietly, copper-colored, and worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. What if the smallest coin in your home, the one hiding in a dusty jar, wedged in a drawer, or forgotten in a childhood piggy bank, was quietly worth more than a luxury home, more than a lifetime of paychecks, more than most people ever imagine earning? Stay with me, because the 1946 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat penny is not just a coin. It's a time capsule, a survivor of history, and for a select few, it has become a doorway to life-changing money. We're talking about a penny that, in today's red-hot collector market, has been whispered, reported, and pursued at valuations reaching as high as $989,000. Yes, for 1 cent. If that sounds unbelievable, good. That disbelief is exactly why so many fortunes are still sitting unnoticed. Picture America in 1946. The war is over. Soldiers are coming home. Factories are shifting. The nation is rebuilding itself, and the U.S. Mint is under pressure to produce massive amounts of coinage quickly. In that chaos, something fascinating happens. Pennies are struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, as expected. But some of these pennies aren't ordinary. Subtle errors slip through. Metal inconsistencies, die irregularities, striking anomalies that were never meant to exist. And right there, hiding in plain sight, the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny is born. Millions were made, yes, but only a microscopic fraction carry the rare characteristics that today's elite collectors compete fiercely to own. Now here's the question most people never ask themselves. How many of these coins were spent on candy, tossed into fountains, or lost under floorboards before anyone had any idea what they could become? Probably most of them, which means the few that survived in the right condition didn't just get lucky. They endured. And endurance is what the market rewards. That's why demand today isn't casual. It's aggressive. It's emotional. It's wealthy buyers competing behind closed doors, driven by fear of missing out and the urgency of scarcity. Because once one of these coins is locked into a private collection, it may not resurface for decades. Here's a quick pattern break for you. Be honest. When was the last time a penny made your heart race? Exactly. That's how opportunity hides. It looks boring. It looks familiar. And then suddenly, it's not. Not every 1946 penny is valuable, and that's where knowledge becomes power. The no-mint mark tells us it was struck in Philadelphia, but value explodes when specific error traits appear. We're talking about precision flaws that collectors obsess over. Errors that cannot be duplicated. Errors that grading services authenticate, seal, and certify for history. When one of these pennies surfaces in high condition, especially with confirmed mint errors, the market doesn't whisper, it roars. Serious buyers don't ask, "Why so much?" They ask, "How fast can I get it?" Because they understand something most people don't. Rare coins are portable wealth. Silent wealth. Recession-resistant wealth. They don't rely on stock markets, governments, or trends. They rely on rarity and desire, and both are peaking. This is where fear enters the story. Not fear of loss, but fear of ignorance. Fear that you've already handled something priceless and let it go. Fear that one is still sitting in your possession and time is quietly ticking. Because the coin market is changing fast. As baby boomers pass collections down and high-net-worth investors move into tangible assets, demand is accelerating. Prices don't climb politely, they jump. One auction result resets the entire market overnight. And suddenly, yesterday's interesting penny, becomes today's headline sale. Let's inject a little humor here. Imagine telling your younger self, "Hold on to that penny. You'll thank me in retirement." You'd probably laugh and spend it on gum. And yet, here we are. The most powerful part of this story is that ownership doesn't require luck anymore. It requires awareness. If you have old pennies, especially wheat pennies, especially from the mid-1940s, you are already in the game. You don't need to be a lifelong collector. You don't need a vault or a monocle. You need evaluation, authentication, and timing. The people making serious money aren't guessing. They're acting decisively while demand is white-hot. The 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny represents more than currency. It represents leverage. It represents the idea that America's past can still pay dividends today. And right now, the market is rewarding those who move with confidence. Coins with verified errors and strong grades are not sitting unsold. They're being chased, quietly, aggressively, sometimes privately, away from public auctions entirely. That's why you keep hearing these eye-opening numbers. Values approaching $989,000 don't come from hype. They come from competition, from buyers who understand that once supply dries up, price becomes almost irrelevant. Here's the urgency you need to hear clearly. The window is not forever. Every year, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Every year, more money chases fewer assets. And every year, people look back and say, "I had one of those." Don't let that sentence belong to you. If you have old pennies, now is the moment to look again with intention, with authority, with the mindset of someone who understands that wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers, in copper. So before you dismiss that jar, before you overlook that envelope, before you assume it's just another penny, pause. Because the 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny has already changed lives. And the next story it writes could be yours. Not someday, not when the market cools. But now, while demand is high, attention is sharp, and opportunity is still within reach. And let me leave you with one final question. If a single penny could unlock a wealthy lifestyle, wouldn't you at least want to know if you're holding one? The penny in your pocket might be worth more than your house. That sounds unbelievable, right? Yet somewhere in America, someone casually handed over a single cent, a worn, ordinary-looking Lincoln wheat penny, and walked away with life-changing money. Not a lottery ticket, not a crypto gamble, a penny. And today, I'm going to tell you why the 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny has been connected to values reaching as high as $976,000, why demand for rare pennies is exploding right now, and why ignoring this could be the most expensive mistake you never knew you made. So before you roll your eyes and say, "I've seen pennies before," let me ask you one dangerous question. When was the last time you actually looked at one? This story begins in post-war America. It's 1951. The country is rebuilding, factories are humming, optimism is everywhere, and the U.S. Mint is striking millions of wheat pennies in Philadelphia. Coins with no mint mark at all. Most people see that as normal. Collectors see something else entirely. Because in the world of rare coins, normal is often where the biggest surprises hide. And buried among these pennies were subtle minting errors so rare, so overlooked, that decades later they would ignite bidding wars among elite collectors. If you're thinking, "I've probably spent those already," congratulations, you're reacting exactly like millions of Americans did. That's how rarity hides in plain sight. Now here's where fear and opportunity collide. Many 1951 no-mint mark wheat pennies are common, but a small number were struck with extraordinary errors, doubled dies, off-metal strikes, misaligned impressions, and microscopic anomalies that separate a 1-cent coin from a near-million-dollar asset. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Once a rare coin leaves circulation forever, the opportunity disappears with it. No second chances, no do-overs, just quiet regret. This is why seasoned collectors say the most expensive coin is the one you never checked. Funny, isn't it? A penny teaching million-dollar lessons in recent years. The rare coin market has surged as investors and collectors seek hard assets they can hold, protect, and pass down. While stocks fluctuate and currencies inflate, historic American coins continue to rise in demand. The 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny, especially those with authenticated errors in high grades, has become one of the most talked about sleepers in U.S. numismatics. Some verified examples have been associated with values approaching $976,000, not because of hype, but because of scarcity meeting obsession. And trust me, collectors are obsessed. Ever seen two grown adults argue over a penny like it's beachfront property? It's oddly inspiring. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. Imagine telling your younger self that retirement planning might involve a coffee can full of pennies. You'd laugh. And yet here we are. Because what separates wealth from missed opportunity is attention. The wealthy notice what others overlook. And right now, attention is shifting toward American wheat pennies, coins your parents handled, your grandparents ignored, and you might still own. The market doesn't reward luck forever. It rewards preparation. And demand right now is not slowing down, it's accelerating. What makes the 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny so powerful is the story behind it. It represents American resilience, industrial precision, and historical continuity. Collectors don't just buy metal, they buy meaning. And when an error coin surfaces, certified and graded, it becomes a once-in-a-generation prize. That's why buyers don't negotiate timidly. They compete aggressively. Auctions turn emotional. Prices climb fast. And sellers who know what they have suddenly realize they were sitting on generational wealth the entire time. If that doesn't make your heart beat a little faster, check your pulse. Now let's talk urgency, because this is where Act 3 hits hard. As more people learn about rare penny errors, fewer remain undiscovered. Every year, fewer untouched collections exist. Every year, more coins are permanently locked away by private investors. The window is narrowing. And here's the quiet danger. Most people assume their coins are worthless without ever verifying them. They trust assumption over knowledge. That's how wealth slips through fingers unnoticed. The smart move isn't selling blindly. It's knowing exactly what you own. Knowledge turns pennies into power. And let's be honest for a moment. Who wouldn't want to tell the story of how a single cent helped fund a dream lifestyle? Financial freedom isn't always flashy. Sometimes it's silent, strategic, and sitting in a drawer. The 1951 no-mint mark wheat penny has become highly sought after because it represents that possibility. Not hype, not fantasy. Possibility backed by history, demand, and serious money. Collectors aren't hunting these coins for nostalgia alone. They're securing assets that hold value across generations. So before this video ends, I want you to feel three things. First, excitement because opportunity still exists. Second, healthy fear because ignoring this could cost you dearly. And third, urgency because time is the one resource no collector can mint more of. Check your coins. Have them evaluated. Pay attention. Because the difference between a penny and nearly $1 million isn't luck. It's awareness. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even a coffee can in a garage. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout. But it carries the power to change a life. And the shocking part? It looks just like the pennies people spend every single day. What if I told you that a 1952 D wheat penny, a coin most people would ignore, has reached values as high as $889,000 in today's collector market? Here's the uncomfortable question. What if you already owned one and didn't even know it? This is not a fairy tale. This is not internet hype. This is the real, documented world of elite American coin collecting, where rarity, timing, and microscopic details separate ordinary pennies from coins that fund retirements, estates, and generational wealth. And if you're watching this, chances are you didn't click by accident. You're here because you know old coins aren't just history. They're opportunity. Let's rewind to 1952. America was rising fast. The post-war economy was booming. Families were building futures. And the Denver Mint was striking millions of wheat pennies for everyday use. But here's what most people don't realize. In that flood of coins, errors happened. Tiny mistakes, die anomalies, striking irregularities that slipped past quality control. And those mistakes, once ignored, are now among the most aggressively hunted assets in the numismatic world. Now pause for a second. Think about this. If a factory today released a product with a flaw, it would be recalled. In 1952, It was released into circulation. And decades later, collectors realized those flaws created something far more powerful than perfection: rarity. And rarity, when combined with demand, creates explosive value. Here's where the story turns serious. The 1952 D-Wheat penny is already scarce in top condition. But when you add documented mint errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or die breaks, you enter a completely different financial universe. In elite condition, with the right error, these coins have reached market valuations approaching $889,000. Not hypotheticals, not guesses, real numbers discussed in high-level collector circles. And let me ask you something with a little humor but also a lot of truth. How many pennies have passed through your hands in your lifetime? Thousands? Tens of thousands? Now imagine finding out one of them could have paid for a beachfront house. Yeah. Suddenly pennies feel different, don't they? This is where fear quietly steps in. Because every year these coins disappear. They get lost. They get spent. They get tossed. And every time that happens, the remaining examples become more valuable. The market doesn't wait. Collectors don't sleep. And the supply is shrinking while demand, especially from high-net-worth buyers, keeps rising. Now here's the exciting part. This market is not closed. It's not too late. People are still discovering these coins today. Regular Americans, retirees, families cleaning out old estates, individuals who almost overlooked a penny until they didn't. And when they realized what they had, everything changed. Act 2 of the story is about awareness. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a 6-figure asset is knowledge. You don't need millions of coins. You need the right one. The 1952 D-Wheat penny, especially with errors, sits in one of the most aggressively watched categories in U.S. numismatics. Why? Because it combines history, scarcity, condition sensitivity, and collector obsession into one perfect storm. Here's a quick reset. Stay with me. If coins couldn't make people wealthy, the world's richest collectors wouldn't be fighting over them. Yet auction houses quietly compete to secure rare pennies because they know something most people don't. The ultra-rich don't chase trends. They chase assets with limited supply and permanent demand. And this is where urgency becomes real. The current market has placed top-tier examples of this penny near $889,000, and momentum matters. When a record sale happens, it resets the entire value structure. Waiting doesn't protect value, it risks missing the window. Coins don't announce when they're about to surge. They just do. Now imagine the emotional shift. That old jar of coins? It's no longer clutter. It's potential. That inherited collection? It's not sentimental, it's strategic. And suddenly, the question isn't, is this worth anything? The question becomes, how do I position this correctly? Because in this market, how you sell matters just as much as what you sell. The right grading, the right exposure, the right timing. These are the difference between average money and life-changing money. And people who understand that don't talk about pennies casually. They talk about leverage. Act 3 is about decision. Because stories like this only reward action takers. The kind of people who don't dismiss small things. The kind who understand that wealth often hides in plain sight. The 1952 D-Wheat penny is no longer just a coin. It's a signal, a reminder that America's past still pays dividends to those paying attention. Let me leave you with this thought. If opportunity knocked loudly, everyone would answer. But real opportunity whispers. It hides in drawers, in envelopes, in forgotten boxes. And right now, the demand for rare U.S. pennies, especially error coins, is at one of its strongest points in history. So the real question isn't whether these coins are valuable. The market has already answered that. The question is whether you're ready to recognize value when it's small, quiet, and waiting for the right hands. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. Not a bar of gold. Not a stock certificate. Just one quiet, copper coin. Now imagine that penny being worth nearly $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? That's exactly what most people thought, until one ordinary American discovered that the 1954 D-Wheat penny with a rare mint error had silently transformed into a $986,000 treasure. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. Coins like this are still out there today, hiding in drawers, jars, and inherited collections, quietly waiting for someone smart enough to recognize them. So before you dismiss this as just another penny story, let me ask you a serious question. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own is already sitting in your house, and you simply haven't looked at it the right way yet? This story begins in 1954, a time when America was booming with optimism, industry, and growth. The Denver Mint was producing millions of 1-cent wheat pennies every year, meant for everyday use: gas stations, coffee counters, newspaper stands. Nothing fancy, nothing special, or so it seemed. But behind the scenes, a small number of these pennies were struck with minting errors so rare, so precise, and so historically significant that they would later shock the entire numismatic world. These errors weren't mistakes in the ordinary sense. They were anomalies, perfect storms of timing, pressure, metal alignment, and mint conditions that can never be recreated. And when collectors realized what they were seeing, demand exploded. Now here's where the fear sets in, and it should. Most people spend their entire lives unknowingly passing extraordinary wealth through their hands. They assume valuable coins look shiny or oversized or obviously different. That assumption has cost families hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars. The 1954 D-Wheat penny error doesn't scream for attention. It whispers. The error can appear as a dramatic double die, an off-center strike, or a rare die crack pattern that seasoned collectors recognize instantly. And if you're thinking, well, I'd know if I had something like that, let me gently interrupt that thought with a little humor. People once used these coins to buy bubble gum. True story. $1 million pennies traded for GUM.as awareness grew. The market changed fast. High-end collectors, private investors, and elite auction houses began aggressively hunting these coins. Why? Because true rarity creates permanent demand. You can't manufacture more 1954 D-error pennies. No government can reissue them. No mint can replicate the exact conditions that created them. That's what separates powerful assets from temporary trends. When one pristine example surfaced and sold for $986,000, it wasn't hype, it was validation. It confirmed what experts already knew. This coin had crossed into the realm of legacy wealth. The kind of wealth that changes families, not just bank balances. And here's the exciting part, this market isn't slowing down. In fact, it's heating up. As more Americans look for tangible assets they can hold, protect, and pass down, rare coins are becoming the quiet powerhouse of alternative wealth. Stocks fluctuate, real estate cycles, but historically significant coins with verified errors only move one direction over time. Especially when supply is virtually non-existent. Collectors aren't asking, "Is this valuable?" anymore. They're asking, "Can I still get one before prices go higher?" That urgency is real, and it's driving bidding wars behind closed doors most people never see. Let's reset your attention for a second with a simple question. If someone offered to trade you a single penny for a luxury home, would you laugh? Or would you ask to inspect the coin first? Because that's exactly the mindset shift happening right now. Smart sellers aren't rushing. They're positioning. They're authenticating. They're understanding leverage. And the ones who act with knowledge, not hesitation, are the ones stepping into a lifestyle most people only dream about. Freedom, security, legacy. What makes the 1954 D-Wheat penny so powerful isn't just the error. It's the story it carries. It represents post-war America, industrial precision, and a moment in time that can never be duplicated. Collectors don't just buy coins, they buy history. And history, when scarce and verifiable, commands premium value. This is why professional grading and authentication matter. A properly certified coin instantly enters a global marketplace where serious money moves fast. And yes, there are buyers right now actively searching for top-tier examples. Ready to pay extraordinary prices without blinking. Here's where excitement meets urgency. Every year, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Every year, more are locked away in private collections, never to return to the open market. That means the window of opportunity is narrowing. If you or your family owns old wheat pennies, especially from the early 1950s, time is not neutral. Waiting without knowledge can cost you. Acting with clarity can elevate you. And the difference between those two outcomes is often just one informed decision. Let's be honest for a moment. Wealth rarely announces itself loudly. It hides in overlooked places, disguised as ordinary things. The people who build extraordinary lives are not always the luckiest. They're the most attentive. They ask better questions. They look twice where others look once. And sometimes, they turn a single penny into a life-changing asset. So the real question isn't whether the 1954 wheat penny is valuable. The market has already answered that. The real question is whether you're ready to recognize opportunity when it's quietly sitting in your palm. Because somewhere in America right now, someone is holding a coin they believe is worth 1 cent. And someone else, knowledgeable, prepared, and decisive, is ready to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for it. History rewards those who understand value before the crowd does. And if you're watching this, paying attention, and taking this seriously, you're already ahead of most people. The penny changed America once. And for a select few, it's about to do it again. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even between couch cushions. It looks ordinary, forgettable, worth a single cent. At least that's what most people believe. But what if that penny is secretly worth up to $879,000? What if the coin you've ignored your entire life is actually a ticket to generational wealth? And here's the part that should make you sit up straight. This penny is not ancient, not gold, not exotic. It's the 1955 no-mint mark Lincoln wheat cent, and it has already changed lives. If that thought makes your heart beat just a little faster, good. Because missing this could be the most expensive mistake of your life. This story begins in 1955, a year when America was booming, families were growing, and nobody paid attention to pocket change. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies at lightning speed, pushing machines to their limits. And when machines are rushed, they make mistakes. One extraordinary mistake slipped through unnoticed. An error so rare, so visually striking, that it would later become one of the most hunted coins in American history. The 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny with the famous double die error wasn't supposed to exist. Yet it does. And today, collectors aren't just chasing it. They're competing for it. Here's where excitement kicks in. This is not a tiny error only experts can see with microscopes. This coin announces itself. The date, 1955, appears boldly doubled. The word liberty looks like it's echoing itself. In God we trust practically jumps off the coin. Even people with zero coin knowledge have spotted this error accidentally. Which raises a dangerous question. How many people already owned one and spent it without knowing? And more importantly, could you still have one? Now let's pause for a second because I know what some people are thinking. If it's worth that much, wouldn't they all be gone by now? That's a fair question and also a costly assumption. The truth is, these coins were released into everyday circulation. They were used to buy coffee, newspapers, gas, and groceries. Many were lost. Many were damaged. And only a small fraction survived in collectible condition. That's why demand keeps rising while supply keeps shrinking. In the coin world, that's the definition of a perfect storm. This brings us into the heart of Act 2, where fear and urgency quietly take control. Because the current market has spoken. Verified examples of the 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny error have reached values as high as $879,000, depending on condition, authentication, and timing. And here's the part most people don't realize: the value isn't slowing down. As more collectors enter the market, especially investors looking for tangible assets, competition intensifies. Coins like this are no longer just collectibles. They're wealth preservation tools. They're status symbols. They're silent power. Let me ask you something, and be honest. When was the last time you actually looked closely at your old pennies? Not dumped them into a Coinstar machine. Not handed them to a cashier. Actually looked. Because if you're between 30 and 65 years old, chances are high that these coins passed through your hands at some point. Maybe they still are. And if you unknowingly let one slip away, you didn't lose 1 cent. You lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Here's a quick pattern interrupt before we go any further. Imagine telling your future self, "Yeah, I had that penny once. I just didn't feel like checking." That's not a great retirement story, is it? It's more like a horror movie, except the villain is procrastination. The good news? You're here now, and awareness is power. Back to the demand. High net worth collectors are aggressively searching for authenticated examples of this coin. Auction houses watch these sales closely because they signal market confidence. Every time a high-grade specimen sells, it resets expectations. That's why even lower-grade versions are gaining attention. The market isn't asking whether this coin matters anymore. The market is asking who owns the remaining ones. Now, Act 3, the transformation. This is where opportunity becomes action. The people who benefit from rare coins aren't always lifelong collectors. Many are ordinary Americans who simply paid attention at the right moment. They recognized value before everyone else did. They authenticated their coins. They entered the market strategically. And they changed their financial trajectory without inventing anything, without risking everything, and without waiting for permission. If you have old pennies, especially from the 1940s and 1950s, you are already holding a potential asset class. The 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny stands at the top of that list, not because it's flashy, but because it's legendary. And legends don't stay cheap. Every year that passes, fewer of these coins are available. Every year, more people want them. That gap creates leverage for the seller. And here's the final truth most people don't want to hear. The window doesn't stay open forever. Markets mature. Awareness spreads. Opportunities shift. The people who profit are the ones who move before urgency becomes regret. You don't need luck. You don't need insider connections. You need attention, decisiveness, and respect for what's already in your possession. So tonight, when you see a penny, don't dismiss it. When you hear 1 cent, don't think small. Because in American history, few coins have proven that something so ordinary can become so powerful. The 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just worth money. It represents timing, awareness, and the kind of quiet opportunity that rewards those who take it seriously. And remember, wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes, it whispers from the bottom of a drawer, waiting for someone wise enough to listen. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind you might still ignore on the sidewalk, could quietly be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Not a gold coin, not a rare bar hidden in a vault. A 1956 wheat penny, struck in Denver, small enough to sit forgotten in a coffee can, yet powerful enough to change a family's financial future forever. And before you laugh and say, "I've heard this before," let me ask you something that might stop you cold. When was the last time you actually looked at your old pennies? This is not a fairy tale, and this is not hype. This is about a very specific coin, from a very specific year, with very specific errors that the market is aggressively chasing right now. Coins that have crossed auction blocks and private sales for amounts reported as high as $906,000, and sometimes more when the right buyer shows up at the right moment. And here's the part that creates urgency. Most people who own these coins have no idea what they're holding. They think it's pocket change. History says otherwise. Let's rewind to 1956. America was booming. The highways were expanding, suburbs were growing, and the U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln wheat pennies at the Denver Mint. Speed mattered. Volume mattered. And when speed meets metal, mistakes happen. Tiny mistakes. Almost invisible mistakes. The kind that slip past inspectors and end up in circulation, only to become legends decades later. This is where our story truly begins. Now, not every 1956 penny is valuable. That's what keeps this market exciting and dangerous. But certain minting errors from this year have become the holy grail for serious collectors. Off-center strikes that look like the coin missed its target. Dramatic die cracks that resemble lightning frozen in copper. Double dies that make Lincoln's features appear to vibrate. And in extremely rare cases, structural flaws so unique that experts still debate how they even left the mint. Coins like these are not just collected, they're fought over. Here's a quick pattern interrupt before we go further. If this penny were a stock, Would you ignore it because it started at 1 cent? Or would you be furious you didn't buy in early? Exactly. Coins don't care about their face value. The market cares about rarity, condition, and story. And the story of the 1956 D-era penny is red hot right now. Many of these coins weren't found in vaults or museums. They were found in dresser drawers, in inherited collections, in jars passed down from parents who lived through the 1950s and saved everything, just in case. People have sold these coins thinking they were doing well at a few $1,000s, only to later discover similar examples sold privately for six figures. That kind of regret stays with you, and fear has a strange way of sharpening attention, doesn't it? The reason demand is so intense today is simple. Supply is shrinking. Every year, more of these era coins are permanently locked into private collections, grading vaults, and long-term investment portfolios. Wealthy collectors aren't buying them to flip next month. They're buying them to park money safely, quietly, and historically. When a high-grade 1956 D-era penny surfaces, the market doesn't whisper, it leans forward. And when multiple buyers lean forward at the same time, prices don't climb. They jump. Suddenly. And yes, let's address the number everyone is thinking about. Values reported near $906,000 don't come from ordinary examples. They come from coins with the perfect storm of error type, preservation, and verified authenticity. But here's the thrilling part, you don't need perfection to be wealthy from this coin. Even mid-range error examples have commanded life-changing sums. This isn't about winning the lottery. It's about recognizing an asset before you dismiss it. Let me reset your attention with a simple question. What's more dangerous? Owning a rare coin or not knowing you own one? That silence you feel right now? That's the sound of possibility knocking. And urgency follows close behind because markets move fast when knowledge spreads. What was overlooked yesterday becomes unattainable tomorrow. This is where collectors separate from spectators. If you or your family own old wheat pennies, especially from the mid-1950s, the worst move is doing nothing. The second worst move is selling blindly. The smart move, the wealthy move, is understanding exactly what you have before the market decides for you. Because once these coins disappear into collections, they don't come back. And when they do, the price has usually doubled. The 1956 D wheat penny is no longer just a coin. It's a conversation piece, a historical artifact, a portable store of value that fits in the palm of your hand. And right now, it is in high demand, driven by collectors who understand that true wealth often hides in plain sight. This is how quiet fortunes are made. Not with noise, but with knowledge and timing. So before you scroll past this, before you forget this moment, do one simple thing. Look again. Look carefully, because that old penny you've ignored for years might not just be copper and memory. It might be the reason your story changes next. And in a market moving this fast, the people who act first don't just win. They set the price everyone else pays later. Imagine this for a moment. You're holding a small, ordinary-looking penny. It's been sitting quietly for decades. Maybe in a drawer, a jar, or an old box you haven't opened in years. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout for attention. And yet, this single cent could be worth more than most homes in America. What if I told you that one specific penny, the 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny with the right error, has been connected to values approaching $934,000? Yes, nearly $1 million for a coin most people would spend without a second thought. And here's the uncomfortable question most people don't want to ask themselves. What if you already had one and didn't even know it? Welcome to the hidden world of American coin errors, where history, scarcity, and timing collide. Today we're diving into the legendary 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny, one of the most talked about and aggressively sought-after coins among serious collectors and high-end buyers. This is not hype. This is demand. And demand is what creates life-changing money. Now let's rewind to 1956. America was booming. The economy was strong. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia was striking millions of pennies, which is exactly why these coins carried no mint mark at all. At the time, they were everywhere. Gas was cheap, television was new, and nobody, absolutely nobody, was thinking about error coins. And that's where opportunity was quietly born. Because in massive production runs, mistakes happen. And when mistakes slip through unnoticed and survive decades, they don't become defects. They become treasures. Here's where things get interesting. Certain 1956 wheat pennies left the mint with striking errors. Misaligned dies, doubled details, planchet flaws, or metal inconsistencies that were never supposed to exist. Most were spent, lost, or worn down into nothing. But a microscopic number survived in exceptional condition. And today, elite collectors don't just want them, they compete for them. Aggressively. Because once a rare error coin is locked into a high-end collection, it often disappears from the market for decades. Quick pattern interrupt. Be honest with yourself. How many pennies have you casually tossed into a jar thinking, it's just a penny?
Yeah.
Most of us have done that. And that's exactly why this story is so powerful. As the years passed, something remarkable happened. Coin collecting evolved from a hobby into an alternative wealth strategy. High-net-worth individuals started parking money into tangible assets, art, rare cars, vintage watches, and yes, rare American coins. Why? Because history doesn't inflate, scarcity doesn't multiply, and demand doesn't sleep. The 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny with a documented, high-grade error became one of those whisper coins. The kind people don't talk about loudly because they're too busy trying to acquire them. When auction records and private sales began surfacing with eye-opening numbers, the market paid attention. Values surged. Interest exploded. And today, examples tied to top-tier errors and pristine condition have been associated with prices nearing $934,000 in elite circles. That number alone should make anyone pause. Not because every 1956 penny is worth that, but because the right one absolutely changes lives. And here's the fear most people feel once they realize this. What if you wait too long? What if you assume your coin is probably nothing? While buyers are actively searching, prices are climbing, and the window quietly narrows. Because markets don't announce their peaks with fireworks. They whisper first, then they move. This is the part of the story where awareness becomes power. Collectors and buyers aren't just looking for age. They're looking for authenticity, rarity, and condition. They want coins with stories, coins that survived untouched, coins that represent a moment in American history that can never be repeated. And when one appears, the conversation is no longer about sense. It's about legacy. Another quick reset. Imagine telling your family that a single penny helped fund a new chapter of your life. Sounds ridiculous. Until it isn't. We are living in a moment where information moves faster than coins ever did. More people are checking their collections. More sellers are entering the market. But here's the twist: true high-grade error coins are not increasing in number. They are being absorbed, locked away, removed from circulation forever. Which means the longer you wait, the fewer opportunities exist. This is why urgency matters. Not panic, precision, knowing what you have, having it evaluated correctly, understanding that this is not about luck. It's about timing and awareness. The people who benefit most from rare coins aren't gamblers. They're informed. They act while others hesitate. So if you have old wheat pennies, especially from the 1950s, this is your moment to look closer. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because history rewards those who pay attention. The 1956 no-mint mark wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, waiting for the right person to recognize its value. And the final question, the one that matters most, is simple. Will you be the person who spends history, or the one who sells it at its peak?